Indiana had 9 road games moved to larger arenas last year, but just 4 so far for 2026. WNBA teams are moving more games to different arenas this upcoming season, but Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever have significantly fewer of those games. The WNBA's regular season schedule announced Wednesday, including 19 games moved to different arenas, up from 15 last year.
9 games collapsed to just 4, and that's no coincidence. Last season, the Indiana Fever moved 9 road games into massive NBA venues to handle the enormous crowds showing up for Caitlin Clark. This year, only 4 games scheduled. But here's what's really telling. The league actually bumped up their total arena moves from 15 to 19 games overall. So if the hype is supposedly bigger than ever, why are they cutting back on Fever games in these premium venues?
Last season, the Washington Mystics, Connecticut Sun, and Atlanta Dream each moved 1 game against Indiana last year, but none for the upcoming season. The New York Liberty, Portland Fire, Mercury, Valkyries, and Minnesota Lynx are already in NBA arenas, removing any need to move games for bigger crowds. Is part of this due to injuries? Well, they would like you to believe that, I think. They would like you to believe, oh, well, she got injured last year. We don't want to move. We don't want to commit to a bigger arena. God forbid she gets injured again.
This is where their official story completely unravels. The party line goes something like this. It's all about injury concerns. Caitlin was sidelined for most of last season after that groin injury hit her at TD Garden on July 15th. So now they're playing it safe, with venue commitments. Makes perfect sense on the surface. Except for one massive problem, the actual attendance data. Those moved games kept selling out even after she announced she wouldn't be coming back. The Fever pulled in an average of 15,084 fans for road games last season, crushing every other team by 4,000 fans per game. And get this, Clark only showed up for 3 of those 9 moved games before getting hurt.
You have names like Renee Montgomery, part owner of the Atlanta Dream. Names like Sheila Johnson, part owner of the Washington Mystics. Sheila Johnson, the same person who threw a fit that Caitlin Clark was named Time Magazine's Woman Athlete of the Year. And she said, why give it to Caitlin Clark? Let's give it to the whole entire league. If you ask me, this is a subtle play from folks like Sheila Johnson and Renee Montgomery. Because at the end of the season, they decreased the amount of Fever games that have been moved to bigger arenas. Yet in totality, they increased the league from 15 games to 19 games.
Now let's dig into who's actually calling these shots. Renee Montgomery holds ownership stake in the Atlanta Dream. Sheila Johnson has her piece of the Washington Mystics. Ring any bells on Sheila Johnson? She's the same person who went public criticizing Time Magazine for naming Caitlin Clark their Athlete of the Year, arguing they should have recognized the whole league instead. The Dream moved 1 game against Indiana to State Farm Arena last year. This season, absolutely nothing. The Mystics shifted 1 game last season. This year, they're sitting at 0-2. Connecticut Sun moved their matchup to TD Garden, where Clark ended up getting injured. This season's schedule shows nothing planned.
In big arenas 4 times this season. You see how massive the season was? You see how much of a success it was this year? And we only had Caitlin Clark. See, we don't really need her. I told you guys we were going to do this without her. Interesting. The decrease in moved Fever games comes after Caitlin Clark played in just 13 games last season. Clark appeared in just 3 of the 9 moved road games, including July 15th against the Connecticut Sun at TD Garden. Clark injured her groin in the 4th quarter of that game and missed the remainder of the season. The Fever remained the league's biggest attendance draw last year, averaging 15,884 fans.
But check out what's happening with other teams and their arena moves. The Chicago Sky and Dallas Wings each had 2 games bumped up to bigger venues last season. This year, they're each sitting at exactly 1. Meanwhile, Toronto's expansion team has 5 games scheduled for different venues, including 2 apiece in Montreal and Vancouver. So the league is definitely willing to move games around to capture bigger audiences and break into new markets. They're just deliberately limiting how many of those premium games feature the Fever. The numbers don't lie here. Total moved games increased from 15 to 19. Fever games in those major arenas dropped from 9 to 4. This isn't about injury worries or logistical headaches.
Spokesperson tells Front Office Sports. But teams could still change course before the WNBA regular season starts. I think that is likely. It's easier to say, oh, we're gonna show everybody that we know this league is good with or without Caitlin Clark. We're gonna prove it. But once you talk to your owner buddies and they say, look how much we made. I mean, Indiana Fever came to town. Look how much we're making, right? Once Renee Montgomery and Sheila Johnson talk to the owner of the Las Vegas Aces, talk to the owner of the Chicago Sky, and they say, hey, what was that gate looking like? Oh, damn. That's a lot of money.
Check out the timing on those 4 games they actually scheduled. July 5th against Vegas, August 8th versus the Sky, August 18th facing Toronto, August 20th against Dallas. See the pattern in those dates? Every single one lands deep into the season, when the initial media circus has cooled off. Last year, the league scheduled 9 Fever games in NBA arenas right from opening tip, riding that peak. Caitlin Clark momentum hard. This season, they're gambling they can generate early buzz without her, then strategically drop those big arena games later when they need them. And there's another angle nobody's discussing. That collective bargaining agreement still isn't locked down. The 2026 season genuinely might not start on schedule. If you're running an NBA arena, why would you block off dates for WNBA games when the league could be sitting out? Better to keep those dates available for Jonas Brothers shows, Taylor Swift tours, Luke Bryan concerts. If nothing else books those slots, fine. Slide in a Fever game later, but don't commit early when you could potentially land events that guarantee sellouts.
During the 2025 season against the Fever, the 2025 schedule was released 2 months earlier. The Dream announced in March that their game on May 22nd against Indiana would be moved to the State Farm home arena, home of the NBA's Hawks. The Wings announced a week later that they moved a game against the Fever to American Airlines Arena. A Dream spokesperson tells Front Office Sports that they are always exploring new opportunities. The 2026 WNBA season remains in jeopardy of not starting on time, as the league and its union have yet to come to terms on a new collective bargaining agreement.
The Chicago Sky dropped their announcement in February 2025. They were moving their first 2 Fever matchups to the United Center. Keep in mind, the schedule had already been public since December. Atlanta Dream announced in March they were shifting their May 22nd game against Indiana to State Farm Arena, where the Hawks play. Dallas Wings followed up a week later, moving a Fever game to American Airlines Center. All these decisions came months after that initial schedule dropped. A Fever spokesperson told Front Office Sports they can't comment on what other teams might do with venue changes, but teams could still switch things up before the season actually starts. Translation: expect more announcements as tip-off approaches and teams realize how much cash they're walking away from.
That there's no CBA deal reached. If I'm an owner of an NBA arena, if I'm in charge of selecting what events gets put in these arenas, well, without a CBA deal reached, why would I want to start already Xing out dates with potential WNBA games when I can keep those dates open for when a Jonas Brothers come to town, when a Taylor Swift comes to town, when a Luke Bryan or whoever come to town? Why would I start Xing out these dates? I wouldn't. It's not smart. I want to keep those dates open as long as I possibly can.
Consider the impossible position this creates for ownership groups. On one side, you've got voices like Renee Montgomery and Sheila Johnson who've been pushing hard that the league's breakthrough isn't tied to any single player. They've hammered this message repeatedly. The WNBA was always destined to explode. Caitlin Clark just showed up when the momentum was already building. It's about respect. It's about legacy. It's about refusing to let the league's growth story get reduced to one player's influence. But then you sit down with owners from the Las Vegas Aces or Chicago Sky, and they'll break down exactly how much money they pulled in when the Fever rolled into town last season. Those ticket sales tell the whole story. When you can shift a game from a 7,000-seat venue to a 20,000-seat NBA arena and sell every single seat, that's not incremental revenue. That's franchise-changing money for teams that have been bleeding cash for years.
Keep those dates open for possible bigger events. And if nobody takes those dates, fine. Then we'll slide a couple Indiana Fever games in here. But until then, we're keeping these dates open. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I appreciate all the support. Like the video. Let me know your thoughts. Subscribe to the channel. That would mean so much to me. See you next time, and as always.
So there's this massive conflict between the story some owners want to tell and the financial reality every single owner has to deal with. The solution they landed on, schedule fewer Fever games in big arenas up front, claim it's about injury prevention or strategic planning, then see what develops. If attendance stays strong without Caitlin packing arenas, they get to declare victory. See, we told you this wasn't a one-player show. If attendance drops and revenue takes a hit, they quietly roll out more venue changes in February and March. Exactly like what happened this year. It's a strategic bet. They're testing whether the WNBA can maintain record crowds without leaning hard into the Caitlin Clark phenomenon. And if that test bombs, they've already built in their backup plan. What makes this approach especially dangerous is what happened last season. Even with Caitlin missing most of the year, the Fever still dominated road attendance by an enormous margin, 15,880 fans per game versus 11,000 for the second-place team. Those games sold out before the season even started, before anyone knew she'd get hurt. The demand was absolutely real, and it lasted. But this year, teams are betting that excitement will shift to different storylines: the Toronto expansion, Portland Fire joining the league, fresh rivalries, emerging stars, new narratives. Maybe casual fans who discovered the WNBA through Caitlin Clark last season are now invested enough to follow other teams and players. Maybe the league successfully converted temporary curiosity into permanent fandom. Or maybe they're about to learn that star power still drives everything, that casual fans need compelling reasons to care, and that building lasting interest requires more than one breakthrough season.